Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to Charlie Tolhurst Show for today, the 18th of March. Yes, I am already 20 now. Certainly, that one making a big difference. But yes, first time as a 20-year-old presenting a show. It's great to be here, guys. I hope you'll be entertained for the next hour or so with plenty of huge news discussions from the world of politics and many other places as well. I'm joined by late participant Zach Jones for all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
We're going to start off now with the news from the hot headlines. Indeed, and it of course was budget week, and also strike week for many people as well. Many civil servants and teachers and rail unions, whatever, NHS workers, you name a lot of them, took part in industrial action on Wednesday, the same day that the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Jeremy Hunt, presented his budget to the House of Commons and Parliament on Wednesday, where, let me guess, there was a few tax increases. It's now going to be a bit more expensive to buy a beer in a pub. A pint of beer is going to probably be going up now. Goodness me. Hospitality owners are going to be raving about that. Not raving about, but certainly feeling a bit negative about that, I'm sure. I'm sure the Monster Raving Looney Party can help that out there. But in regards to that, the budget has now been officially announced. I can give you all the latest news from that. This is the article that we found here from the government website. It says that the autumn statement 2022, the government took the difficult decision needed on tax and spending to restore economic stability, support private services, and lay the foundation for a strong long-term growth. At the spring budget 2023, the government is building on this foundation with a plan to deliver 3 of 5 key priorities set out by the Prime Minister in January. This includes to halve inflation, grow the economy, and keep the debt falling. And including this, halving inflation, it peaked at around 11% in October 2022, the highest level in 40 years, highest in roads of wages and to economic growth. That comes, of course, according to the government, of Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, causing that as well. To support this, for households with the cost of living, the government is maintaining the EPG at £2,500 for a further 3 months from April 2023. The government will also align charges for comparable direct debit and prepayment meters, PPMS. Customers ensuring those on PPMS can no longer pay premium for their energy costs. Is also growing the economy as well. Increasing employment raises living standards and helps businesses grow. Unemployment hit a 50-year low during the pandemic at one point as well. In that area, there's also updates, I believe, to education. The spring budget also provides a £400 million investment for 20 areas across England as well. And there's plenty of this as well. Lots to talk about. Zach, what did you take away from Jeremy Hunt's spring budget the other day in Parliament?
I would say it's more. He called it the budget of growth, didn't he? It's more of a steady as you go budget, the steady shit budget, as I like to call it. Really, no massive sort of huge surprises, no sort of red meat, no sort of crocodile holes, if you want to call it that way as well. But yeah, there was several measures in this. In the budget, and there's no doubt about it as well. Some of them, obviously, like you said, the extension of the £2,500 energy price guarantee, which is good, just because a lot of customers still facing a lot of charges on their energy households. I mean, the war in Ukraine may still be going on, and there may well still be, high. The oil prices have sort of gone down a little bit over the last few months, and it's stabilised, but it's still costly for a lot of people. So £2,500 energy support going on for another 3 months. Taking it up to June, I believe, in terms of support at the moment as well. So that's one area as well. That Martin, someone called Martin Lewis, you may know him as well. He very much welcome that figure. We are no longer going to get a technical recession this year. This is one of the good news that come out of the budget, I think, as well. We are no longer going to get a technical recession according to the OBR, but we are still set for 0.2% decline in growth, which would be the only G7 country to have a decline in growth if it's replicated that way, if the OBR forecast is correct. So that's something that Labour could be to stick on in terms of what's happening there. Inflation is expected, however, to come down from 10.7% in the last quarter last year to 2.9% by this time by the end of this year, according to the OBR as well. That's another bit of good news as well. Inflation has been very high, obviously, it costing lots of food product, others as well. Petrol, lots of areas, a lot of money. You see it on the shelves in the stores being costing a lot more as well. So that's come down as well. In many ways, in terms of leveling up, like we've had Hunt boasted about building 12 new potential canary wharfs, aka investment zones. It sounds a bit of a laugh, that one. 12 canary wharfs. I'm not sure they have the equivalent of canary logs, but West Midlands, Greater Manchester, Liverpool, and Teesside been identified as possible hosts as well. Now, business tax incentive changing as well. The corporation tax increase is going ahead from 19% to 25% as planned, but now there will be a new £9 billion policy of full capital expense initially for the next 3 years. It will allow firms to write off all investments against their tax bill. The OBR believes this will boost business tax by 3% a year. It also announced a new enhanced credit for research intense businesses worth £27 for every 100 they invest. As well, he also talked about, and I think this is a bit ridiculous, quite frankly, when you listen to this, a Brexit pubs guarantee. I know this is a bit of a meat to the red wall or something like that. He also extended drought relief, so duty paid in pubs will be up to 11% lower than elsewhere, claiming it will not be possible within inside the EU as well. 20 billion investment carbon capture and storage. He said nuclear will become classed as environmentally sustainable. Might be a little bit controversial with some groups, but in fairness, I think he's right on that one, to be fair, as well. There is brand new, and I think this is one of the biggest announcements, childcare announcements as well. Every 1 to 2 year old will get 30 hours of free childcare for every new parent that has a child between 1 and 2. Takes it in line between anyone who has a child between age 3 and 4. But the catch is on that is that it's not going to be implemented fully until the next couple of years, which makes it a bit pointless announcing it today. Wednesday. Bit of a waste of time on that one, I'm afraid, because it's just, it's going to be implemented like 3 years down the line. It's a bit of a waste. It makes me think it's a bit election playing games for that one. Also announced as well was revamps to the disability benefits as well. They're scrapping the work capability assessments, introducing a new voluntary employment scheme for disabled people, universal support worth £4,000 up for up to 50,000 people, and a £400 million scheme to make more support for mental and physical health available to workers with mental health problems. As well, for those who need a credit about health problem, Hunt says benefit sanctions will be applied more rigorously to force people to search for work as well. More focus on the over 50s as well. The pension lifetime cap as well. This is one of the controversial measures, I think, in this budget as well. That has been abolished, and the lifetime cap on the pension has been abolished. So that was set at £1 million. That was a rumour to increase to 1.8 million. That's been abolished entirely. The Labour Party have been critical of that. They're saying it's a tax giveaway to the richest 1%, and they're probably right on that one. I mean, it's wealthy pensioners. They're going to be well off in this one as well. The free pension contributions, though, the annual limit on tax-free pension contribution will raise from 40,000 to 60,000. This is also so they can keep doctors and other health workers in the workplace as well. But I don't know about that one, quite frankly. It's a bit of a tax giveaway for the rich. I mean, if you limit it just to doctors, then maybe you can incentivize doctors to get back into the workplace, and that'd be fair. But generally, overall, I think it's a big tax cut giveaway for very wealthy people, which is not really good at all as well. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a sort of light announcement. So I should point out field duties remain frozen again for a couple more months. That will be reviewed eventually as well. But like I said as well, Charlie, it feels like it's been one of those sort of steady-to-go sort of budgets rather than any big bang budgets. It looks like we're going to have to wait a couple more years for that to happen, I think.
Well, I don't know. It'll be a long time, I'm sure. I mean, I kind of have to welcome one thing, which is the help for the disabilities. I think, like me, as you guys know on this show, me and Zach both have autism or learning disabilities ourselves. We used to go to special schools, and I just want to say as well that we need a lot of young people with special needs, autism, ADHD, need support to get into the workplace. I feel like Universal Credit needs to do a lot more to help young people get into work, rather than leaving them all left behind the drain. So I really want to see help being given to young people get a job, and especially over 50s as well, who are long-term unemployed, having to claim job seekers allowance. I think that's an important thing. So that's all of the budget recap done for that there now. I'm now going to move on to another story now that's broke tonight. And that, or not just tonight, but over the last couple of days, Vladimir Putin, Zach, been issued an arrest warrant by the ICC.
Aha! Yes, the international courts basically have basically issued a arrest warrant for
Sorry, guys. My colleague has technical issues, unfortunately. Sorry for the delays.
Oh, have I lost you? Have you lost you there? Am I back?
No, we're still on.
Am I live again? I think.
Yeah,
you're still on. Okay, that's good. So Vladimir Putin is basically, been given an arrest warrant. Whether they can enforce this arrest warrant is another thing. I mean, it's well deserved. It's well deserved, this arrest warrant, by the way, because war crimes after war crimes that he was committing, is absolutely really well needed today, as well. I mean, there've been various people around the world that have welcomed this, including the US president, many others as well. Whether they can enforce that is one thing. Like, getting the warrant is issued is another one thing. Whether they can actually enforce that is another, because Vladimir Putin can sit in Russia all the time and just basically hide in his bunker, and they can't really do anything about it. It'll be too difficult for any agents to actually physically go into the Russian buildings and drag him out there and arrest him. He's going to have to accidentally step foot out the country at some point, without his bodyguards, and then someone's going to have to come and go in for the arrest and get him put in front of the Hague. So I'll be honest, it's going to be difficult to enforce. We're still going to see him out and about. This is the thing. Whether it's going to really affect him or not as well. Keep in mind, Russia's not a member of the ICCT, meaning that the court located in Hague has no authority there. He will be unable to travel internationally. He would now be arrested if he sets foot in any of the court's 123 member states. He's only the third president to be issued an ICC arrest warrant as well. President Biden said, whilst the court also had no sway in the US, the issue of warrant makes a very strong point. He also clearly committed war crimes. And I do agree as well that he committed war crimes as well. So he's got to basically be arrested. Vladimir Putin's got to step foot in 123 of the countries that are under the ICCC. If he doesn't, then he's obviously not going to be arrested. If he does, then there's obviously going to be some sort of people out there waiting for him to step foot in the country, get arrested, and then he'll be up in the Hague. How long he'll be up, whether he can actually do it or not, who knows? I think it'll be difficult for now to actually really enforce it. I mean, it's the ICC have not got the powers they can really get from them, but until everyone's a recognised member, then it'll be difficult to actually physically arrest him. Remember that Iran once sent an arrest warrant to Donald Trump. Has he been in prison for it yet? No, not for Iran charges. We may see him finally get arrested for something in the next couple of weeks. Who knows? We might get onto that. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult arresting a world leader, especially when it's an ICC that's saying that. It's a symbolic gesture, though. It's a big, welcome, symbolic international gesture that he's been given a arrest warrant. But whether he will end up actually in front of the Hague, I don't know. It's going to be quite difficult.
It's also Maria Lvova-Belova as well, Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights, who's also been given a warrant over Russia's fears of deportation of children from Ukrainian towns and cities. It's very interesting because today he did actually visit Crimea today, where he continuously seemed in a very positive mood, but at the same time doesn't know the effects of his war crimes on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a surprise to see him up in Crimea today, given the fact that that territory is quite disputed, should we say, as well. It was an area that Russia annexed in 2014, despite it clearly being Ukrainian territory, as you probably well know by now. But it is basically he was there to mark the anniversary of the annexation as well, which it's not. He's basically stepping foot into. No matter how much he can claim about it, he's stepping foot into Ukrainian land, as well. Despite the fact that it's an annexation of a country that's been for a while. As my screen has frozen a little bit. There we go. I'm back now. My screen froze for a little bit there. Yeah, it's obviously been quite about 8-9 years now since the annexation of Crimea, illegally annexation from Russia, where all the tanks were free walked in. The world didn't react as much then. They sort of let it off by the hook. Now they're not taking it easy. This is an area, Crimea, by the way, which Ukraine will want to attempt to take back this year, even if they're not successful. At the moment, they're currently still by the skin of their teeth holding back Mut. Despite the relentless attacks on that city, thousands of Russian soldiers being forced into their death every day, trying to fight Bakhmut. But Ukrainians have sent a little bit more force there recently to sort of defend the area. They've decided to dig in to defend. And so far, it seems to have been working by the skin of its teeth as well, which is obviously really important. In terms of what it does as well. Some other good news as well, I should point out in this as well. The Turkish President President Erdogan appears to have said today that the Black Sea grain deal has been extended as well. They haven't now. It hasn't been said what how long it's been extended for. But the UK infrastructure minister said the deal has been extended 120 days. So whether that is the case, it will be nice to see. But the grain sea deal is pretty good as well, and is obviously really important for that to happen as well. And that's really good. Now, there's obviously been a lot of attacks as well. Still recently, the village of Valentylensky in the Kherson region was destroyed. A nursery was damaged. No one was injured, thankfully, as well. It looks like the attack was made from Iranian-made drones as well. There've been attacks in Lviv as well. Dnipro targeted, Kyiv as well. 888 Russian soldiers were reported killed on the Friday. The Wagner Group plans to recruit approximately 30,000 new fighters by the middle of May. Whether they'll be effective enough will be remains to be seen. As well, and it looks like from what UK Ministry of Defence is saying, the Russians are probably going to introduce a wider conscription to boost its military presence, aka extending, the amount of people they want in their army as well. So, it's been another busy, obviously, week in Russia and Ukraine, but especially the fact that Vladimir Putin's now got an arrest warrant, and he's sort of stuck in his country still now, with not many places to go.
He's kind of trapped in his own parallel universe, is Vladimir Putin. I can say that for sure. I think it's a very serious moment for the war for Russia, and I just have to say that the sooner he's put behind bars, the better. To be honest, because he's just destroying the country, and I have to say, I do think he's going to become more dangerous. Moldova this week have been in a bit of a firing line recently, with comments that Russia might even go and invade their country next. I mean, goodness me. Say no to war, honestly. I do not want another war. Don't want World War III. The West must stand up against Russian aggression and Chinese aggression as well, because we are expected to get a meeting next week between Putin and Xi very, very soon. So please comment down below, guys, what you make to the latest news in the war in Ukraine. That is currently on the moment. This is Charlie Tolhurst Show live on YouTube now. Moving on to the next news story now. And yes, we're going to come on to this United States news story now. Now, does anyone remember who I'm about to talk about now? Yes, of course, it's former president, or in many people's view, a lot of presidents, Donald Trump. Of course, I'm not going to go into the election business in that, even though there is some election business regards to some of the comments that have been made this week. But Donald Trump said he claims that he's going to be arrested on Tuesday, according to some reports about fundings, from what I understand,
Yeah.
as well. Now, there has been news about whether this will help Trump boost Trump's popularity ahead of his potential 2024 bid, but of course, there is still the news of potential testimonies, Capitol riot hearings, or something that have been in the pipeline and stuff like that. I mean, Zach, I'm going to give your take on this. Do you think Trump will still run for president, or do you think this news kind of makes it clear that DeSantis is the only shot the Republicans got now?
He's gonna still run even if he's indicted, I think. Let me just what he's been mentioning today about a bit on social media or social looks like from reporting his investigations money payments happened in him and Daniels allegedly, by the way, we should point it allegedly. The Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, has restarted those investigations recently as well. He's heard from more witnesses as well. And now there's been reports in the media that there appears to be some sort of step up in sort of preparations for the possibility that Donald Trump may be about to get indicted by the Manhattan DA. Now, this, by the way, would be his first indictment. I should point out as well. In many ways, he's also under investigation in Georgia. He's also he's also had another investigation by the Manhattan DA involving his tax fraud potential in his business. As I said, he's on investigation in Georgia for voter fraud and violation of Georgia laws and voting. And he's also under investigation by the DOJ for January 6th. And obviously the classified documents, misplacement and the fact that he got, the FBI raided his Mar-a-Lago thing last year as well. So he's got multiple investigations at the moment. He's got multiple criminal investigations. The one that he may be indicted for is the Manhattan investigation into hush money payments as well. This case focuses on this hush money paid on Mr. Trump's behalf by his lawyer to former star Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election. So yeah, this one, yeah, it's basically hush money. Basically, if you keep quiet, I'll pay you to keep quiet. La la la. Maybe legal under Manhattan DA law. As well, he said on his Truth Social site that illegal links to Manhattan District Attorney indicate that he'd be arrested on a Tuesday. I don't know what day he could be arrested on, but this could be the first time a president of the United States has been arrested. I mean, Rich Nixon was very close to that being happening. It didn't quite happen. He got pardoned by the next president afterwards. But it'll be quite extraordinary development is if President Trump is indicted. Now he's been whipping up a bit of a stroppy on social media because of the fact that he could well be indicted on Tuesday, and we don't know whether he will be indicted on Tuesday or whether he another day or not. But this is a big deal. He probably will be maybe arrested. He'll probably be surrendered to the authorities. As well, and then he will still be innocent until proven guilty by a court. So he will still be running for president regardless, even if he does get indicted. But he'll be the first president to actually get indicted for so many long time, actually, as well. It'll be quite an extraordinary scene. The last thing I want to see as well is another January 6th out of this. As well, he's been calling for the people to take the country back. I mean, I'm quite right. The fact that he's targeted Tuesday, that means everyone's going to start rushing off to Manhattan on Tuesday. And then start rioting and not very much protesting. But will be if the reports in the media are correct that the authorities are being put on high alert the next couple of days. It seems like a charging decision will come quite soon.
Oh, I'm absolutely shaking a little bit here with that news, but I hope. Let's see what the news brings. This was what Trump had to say just the other day in some news as he claims Americans are being doomed unless he becomes president again. Have a listen to this. Once this ad break has finished. Here we go. Here's Trump's statement.
World War III is looming like never before in the very dark and murky background. Lack of leadership is solely responsible for this unprecedented danger to our beautiful USA and likewise to the world itself. Hopeless Joe Biden is leading us into oblivion. We cannot let it happen. We have to take back the White House or our country is doomed. Thank you very much.
Then this is what he had to say when he claimed he'd be arrested on Tuesday. Report is from MSNBC.
Donald Trump has now posted on Truth Social this morning that he will be arrested Tuesday of next week. He called the Manhattan District Attorney's Office highly political and called for protests to, quote, take our nation back. I want to note we have not heard from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office yet on this. Again, this Truth Social post by Donald Trump was just done this morning. And we are actually working on getting that post up for you right now. But I would emphasize that what the president or the former president Trump has said is that according to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office with leaks from that office, he is now claiming that the former president of the United States of America, oddly again referring to himself in the third person, will be arrested on Tuesday of next week. Now, here's what's really disturbing about his post as well. He says, quote, protest, comma, take our nation back. Considering what happened on January 6th at the United States Capitol, that obviously gives some rise for concerns. But Donald Trump now, in his own words, posting on Truth Social that he expects to be arrested on Tuesday of next week, which is just in a few days. Again, this is breaking news that has just occurred.
Thank you there for that report from MSNBC there as well on the updates regarding Donald Trump's potential arrest that could be coming. Only if this could ever mean something I don't know in that regards as well. Moving on now to the sport news, the sport briefing. This is the Charlie Tolhurst show, all the latest news from the world of sport, politics, and many other things as well. It's now time for the sports news, and I'm going to talk now all about Formula One and qualifying for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah, which saw not Max Verstappen on pole, but the other Red Bull on pole. Yes, Sergio Perez taking his second straight pole position in a row at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. He done it last year. He's done it this year. It is only his second ever career pole in Formula One. And he's done it on a track that he obviously loves racing on because he's got pole position again. Unfortunately for his teammate, Max Verstappen, not a great day at the office. Engine issues, potential transmission issues. But what we've been hearing, a drive shaft issue, according to Red Bull team principal Christian Horner. He will be starting at best 15th on the grid as well. We also saw Charles Leclerc qualify in P2 in second position, but he has a 10-place grid penalty because he's gone over the allocation of control electronics for Formula One. You're allowed, of course, you're actually allowed two in a season, but if you get 3 and above, you have to have another penalty applied. He's got a 10-place grid penalty coming for tomorrow. He'll be starting 12th. So here we go, guys. This is what the grid looks like for tomorrow's race. Oh, I've got the old grid up. But anyway, we'll flip it. Around.
You've got you can flip. You can change it a little bit with Leclerc and everything as well. And
so Sergio Perez will be first. Then in second will be Fernando Alonso. Third will be George Russell for Mercedes. Fourth will be Carlos Sainz for Ferrari. Lance Stroll will be fifth for Aston Martin. Esteban Ocon will be sixth for Alpine. Lewis Hamilton will be seventh for Mercedes. Oscar Piastri will be eighth for McLaren. Very good session from Oscar Piastri, I have to say, despite McLaren's struggles recently. Ninth will be Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Nico Hulkenberg moves up to 10th despite missing out on Q3. Guan Yu Zhou Guan Yu will be 11th. So I'm guessing Charles Leclerc will be 12th, and then Kevin Magnussen downwards will be unchanged.
Yeah, obviously that it was an interesting qualifying session. You have to say as well. Obviously, one of the big stories is Max Verstappen's drive shaft deciding to fall up in Q2. That's a costly reliability error for Red Bull. I mean, good job it was the qualifying and not the race, because that would have been a costly reliability problem if that was the case. But Sergio Perez, great stuff from him. It's a track that he realised this is his second consecutive pole position here at Saudi Arabia. He put it on pole last season. He's put it on pole this season as well. He managed by 1.5 tenths, by the way, over Charles Leclerc, who has got that 10th-place grid penalty, so he's not second, he's 12th. Another good result for Fernando Alonso. That Aston Martin is absolutely flying this season, no doubt about it as well. It's second position. He'll be starting behind Sergio Perez. It's a good-looking grid, actually. George Russell, I have to say, has had a good qualifying. Now, despite the fact how bad that Mercedes was, has been for the last couple of weeks, and Total Rules has been quite scathing about it as well. George Russell is going to start the second row of the grid, and that is really good effort from George Russell. Carlos Sainz was 5th, but it's 4th. Lance Stroll as well, 6th, but now 5th as well, obviously, you know, in that instance as well. Ocon 6th as well. Hamilton and poor qualifying. One of the people that did stood out, Esteban Ocon. I'm sorry, not Esteban Ocon. Oscar Piastri. Q3 for McLaren. Great job for him. He can't be said for Lando Norris, though. He hit the wall in Q1 towards the end, cost him time, and, you know, cost him the car, really, to be fair on that one. So he's at the back of the grid as well. But Oscar Piastri is at 8th position. 9th is Pierre Gasly. Nico Hülkenberg, 10th. Didn't make it to Q3, unfortunately. Anyone from Hülkenberg down did not make it to Q3, apart from Leclerc. Guan Yu Zhou, 11th. I think that'd be decent for him. Charles Leclerc, 12th. Magnussen, 13th. Bottas, 14th. That Max Verstappen will be interesting to see how they get through the field for tomorrow, 15th position. Tsunoda, 16th. Alex Albon is 17th. Nick de Vries, 18th. Lando Norris, a poor qualifying for him. Logan Sargent, 20th as well. It'll be tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And then in 2 weeks' time, we'll be going to Australia for a race that will start at 6 o'clock in the morning, UK time, which I'll be getting up for. I am a committed F1 fan. I like to get up for that race as well. So we'll be getting up nice and early for that one. But yes, the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix tomorrow is going to make these so interesting just for the fact that we're going to have Max and Charles racing their way through the field. Sergio Perez is at the front. Alonso's going to be on good race pace, I think, as well. So it's going to be a fascinating race, and it might make for an entertaining one. We've had drama the last 2 seasons as well. We're not going to have DRS chicken this year because the DRS zone has moved from turn 27 to now to the front stretch. So no more DRS chicken there. But yeah, it will be a fun race. It may be there's apparently 100% chance of a safety car, but that's based on previous races. But yeah, it can either be turned out to be a bit boring or quite chaotic. I suspect it may well be the later, but I don't want to mark my words for it. It will be a very, very curious race tomorrow.
So for all the listeners out there, do you know when Fernando Alonso's last career win was? Well, I can tell you now, it was Spain 2013 that he last won a career race. So, 10 years ago now, can Fernando win this weekend? Would be brilliant if he can, but obviously you've got that mighty Red Bull of Sergio Perez starting on the front row last year, who walked away early on and then got caught out with Leclerc and Verstappen literally bearing down on him, and the crash fest that followed behind.
Yeah.
So yes, tomorrow will be an interesting race. Stay tuned for the Formula One Saudi Arabian Grand Prix tomorrow, be around 5 o'clock on air. But we're moving on from Saudi Arabia now to the footy action. Yes, the football. We did have some FA Cup matches today. I think it was one FA Cup match, from what I understood as well. A couple of them. But yeah, we're going to go over the Premier League results whilst we're here as well. Aston Villa beating Bournemouth 3-0 in that one. Brentford are drawing with Leicester City 1-0. A surprise result here. Southampton, bottom of the table, drawing with Tottenham 3-0. Leeds beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 4-2. And Chelsea drawing with Everton. I mean, Zach, some pretty big results today in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'll go through some of the results. So let's start off with yesterday, actually. The first round of the weekend was Nottingham Forest against Newcastle. Newcastle got a very late penalty to win that match by Isaac as well. It's a 93rd minute penalty. Newcastle shot that in quite cleanly as well. Big win for Newcastle in the hunt for a top 4. A big penalty there as well, giving a narrow 2-1 victory over Nottingham Forest. as well. They were 1-1. Newcastle got another goal, but then was given offside originally, and then the penalty came along for handball, and it was a big victory for Newcastle as well. Very, very big victory. It was Isaac in the 45th and 93rd minute that scored the goal as well. Very crucial goal for him as well in that one. Brentford, Leicester City. Let's talk about the other ones as well today. That was a 1-1 draw. Red card for Brentford, by the way. It was Baptiste in the 92nd minute. They got a red card. It was So that was the case there. 10 men. So that will be Baptiste. Will have a suspension for the next 3 matches as well. Harvey Barnes, the other scorer for Leicester City, as well in the second half. There. The other surprising result, I have to say, big surprising result, Southampton, coming from 3-1 down to draw in via penalty as well by James Ward-Prowse. That was earned a draw by Southampton. Antonio Conte was absolutely furious in the post-match press conference. You might as well go and see that. He was proper scathing of Tottenham, the players. It's a man that sounds like he's going to be out at the end of the season and going from the club, probably back to Italy, somewhere a little bit closer, I imagine as well. On that one, Aston Villa, big win over Bournemouth, 3-0 for them, very convincing victory. As well, you got goal from David Luiz, Ramsey, Benduir as well, very convincing victory for them in that part as well. Also convincing victory for Leeds United, 4-2 over Wolverhampton Wanderers as well. That's a very crucial win for them. Wolves were down to 9 men at one point, I have to say, in the match as well. 2 red cards for them. It was Castro and Nunez as well in the 100th minute as well. Despite the fact that Castro scored one of the goals for Wolves, is 2 red cards as well. So 2 players that are missing for Wolves next Premier League match. And Chelsea held to Everton to a 2-2 draw. It was Sims in the 89th minute that scored their very convincing goal. Kai Havertz got a penalty in the 76th minute. João Felix scored in the 52nd minute. Doc Curo on the 69th, but it was Sims that got the crucial 89th minute goal for 2-2. And there was one FA Cup match today as well. It's quarter-final weekend. Man City was Burnley. It was a 6-0 victory for Manchester City, a dominant victory for him. And it ends up with an absolute walloping week for Erling Haaland, who scored a hat-trick, by the way, in that 6-0 victory. On top of the fact that in the Champions League on Tuesday, he scored 5 goals in one match. 8 goals within a week for Erling Haaland is absolutely stunning. That boy is an absolute wowzers, honestly. The Sweden Mafia really absolutely on form recently. An absolutely brilliant job by him as well. It's just an absolute dominant disgrace. There's, by the way, the Antonio Conte thing. Only brands the players selfish. Anyway, owners selfish. So Tottenham players are selfish, and the club can change the manager, but the situation cannot change. That is a man that sounds like he's going to go. Whether it's now or later, he's furious. I should point out as well. Now, as I said, there are several more FA Cup matches. There's 3 on the Sunday this weekend as well. I'll give you a little guide to what they are as well, just so I get pop up on my screen as well. So the matches:
Sheffield United, Blackburn, Brighton, Grimsby, and Man U, Fulham are tomorrow's FA Cup matches.
Yeah, they're the 3 matches: 12, 2:15, and 4:30, respectively. Remember, if the match has been drawn by the end of 90 minutes this round, it will go to extra time, potentially penalties as well. So there's no more replays. It's about winning on the night or the day. And if it's a draw after 90 minutes, it's going to go to additional time as well. And there's also one Premier League match tomorrow. A very crucial match. It's Arsenal v Crystal Palace tomorrow at 2:00. As well, a very crucial match. Arsenal could go 8 points ahead by the end of this weekend if they get a victory as well. So yeah,
I have a question, Zach, because Crystal Palace have sacked their manager Patrick Vieira the other day.
Yes, they have. They've sacked their manager. Patrick Vieira has not got a win for Crystal Palace this season at all. No win at all in the last 3 months of Crystal Palace. They are now only a couple of points from the relegation zone, which, by the way, from 13th to 20th is separated by, I believe, just 3 or 5 points. The margins are so close at the bottom this year; it's incredible. You must say as well. It's very tight. It's very busy at the bottom of the table, and it's very exciting as well. But yeah, Palace sacking their manager. As well, they've took their caretakers in charge now. They've yet to decide on a new manager. Roy Hodgson, the former Palace manager, has been floated about. It appears he may be able to return on a short-term basis potentially as well, but I don't imagine he will stay there for the long term. He did obviously leave for wanted to sort of step away a little bit, not because he wasn't any good, but he just wanted to step away back from management. But he sounds like he's been prepared to take back for a short period of time. As well, whether that will be the case will be yet to see.
Yeah, plenty of results in the football there. We'll keep you updated with all the latest football results next week on the Charlie Tolhurst Show. As well, moving on now to one more bit of news now. I'm just going to go over quickly the NASCAR Cup Series results for last week. It saw the return of William Byron winning again at Phoenix. William Byron winning at Phoenix. Ryan Blaney was second in full. Tyler Reddick was third. Carl Larson was fourth. Kevin Harvick there, complete in the top five. Zach, what did you make to the latest NASCAR race?
Yeah, I have to say, Charlie, it was pretty decent, you must say as well. William Byron getting his second consecutive win on the trot is a big win for him, certainly. It was a very big victory for him as well. I mean, 2 wins is quite rare these days, getting consecutive well, but he managed to master the final bits of restarts, including the green-white check finish, the overtime finish, to be able to win that one. He finished ahead of Ryan Blaney and Tyler Reddick in third position. Kyle Larson was a possible contender, but got caught out, just didn't get the run able to need it, got caught up in fourth position. So was Kevin Harvick as well, just got a little bit caught up as well. Christopher Bell, sixth, Chase Briscoe, seventh, Kyle Busch, eighth, Alex Bowman, ninth, and Josh Berry in 10th position. There has been penalties after that race, Charlie. There was post penalties being handed out after the event as well. Hendrick Motorsports, let's start with them first of all. They got, I believe, a couple were given level 2 penalties, Charlie, as well. As well, all the teams as well. So along with penalties, each of the Hendrick Motorsports 4 Cup Series teams, level 2 penalties for unapproved part modifications. Each crew chief is fined $100,000 and spent for 4 races. And each team with further penalties lost 100 team and driver points and 10 player points, with the exception of 9 car, which did not lose driver points because a substitute driver and Xfinity Series points as well. So there were some penalties there. That also, so that was a crucial one as well. So yeah, that was some penalties. Kyle Racing was appealed to level 2 penalty as well. And requested Farrell the chief crucial suspension until after the appeal hearing as well. So yeah, so penalties there for Hendrick Motorsport as well for basically unmodified parts as well. I think it's important the fact that they do not run with modified parts or anything, like unapproved modified parts or anything as well. Obviously, it's crucial in there as well. In the Xfinity Series as well is about to take place. I should point out as well, in terms of that event as well. Qualifying, by the way, for the Cup Series for tomorrow's race, Joe Logano is on the pole ahead of Austin Cindric, Ryan Blaney, and Brad Keselowski as well, ahead of Eric Almirola in 5th position there as well. I think I have to say Eric Almirola with decent results there. Kevin Harvick will be 6th as well. 7th is Chris Buescher, 8th is Chase Briscoe, 9th is Carl Larson, and Christopher Bell in 10th position. Last week winner William Byron is 11th. The Xfinity Series, by the way, I should point out, actually, it's going to the Truck Series first because they have just had their race as well. By the way, it was Christopher Eccles winning a 19 ahead of, I must say a name I've never heard, Nick Sanchez, bless, 2nd in that race as well. We have to say pretty impressive as well for the Cup. For the Truck Series race results, I should say as well, very, very good in that instance as well. Joe Nemechek as well, 3rd, Curly in 4th, Ben Rose in 5th position as well. A good result for him in that part as well. That was early today. Xfinity Series races underway as well. I should point out, Truck Series qualifying and Xfinity Series qualifying were both rained out because of obviously rain. So it went on to the based on owner and driver points off the grid. The Xfinity race, I believe, is still underway. I don't know. It says lap 20, or I think at the moment. It says here Austin Hill was the leader ahead of Sam Creed, ahead of Joe Nemechek, ahead of Christopher Smith, and also Samantha Smith as well. Ryan Truex 6th, Cole Custer 7th, Ryan Sieg 8th, Renus Herbis 9th, and Brett Moffitt's in 10th position at the moment. That's on lap 21 at 163 at the moment as well. The Cup Series races tomorrow, as I was saying as well, but next week after that, it's the Circuit of Americas race where we're going to see a surprise appearance in like Jenson Button, Kimi Raikkonen as well on the Circuit of Americas, and it's the first road course of the season as well. That will begin at 8:30 UK time as well. The Cup Series races at 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow. I've got to fly my thing. Yeah, that's at 7 p.m. UK time tomorrow. It's a little bit an hour earlier than usual because it's their clocks are changed in America. Ours haven't yet as well. But yes, it's Circuit of the Americas next week as well for the Cup Series. It's also the also for the Xfinity Series as well. Will also be racing there as well as the trucks, the Craftsman Truck Series as well. Will also be racing next week as well. Next week as well. So it'll be all three series at Circuit of the Americas next week.
Plenty of that of motorsport action. You can watch the Full Throttle with Charlie. I'll be doing a pod. I'll be doing Motorsport Weekly again on that channel next week, where you can round up a little bit more detail of what the latest motorsport news will be from all the different categories. Moving on now to Charlie's good news. Now, this week we are not going to talk about The Apprentice because I'm going to leave that till next week, even though there was interviews on the show. But I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a secret tonight because we're going to do a double good news segment tonight because we're going to do a couple of topics we're going to be talking about. Firstly, we're going to talk about another musical artist now who has actually been in the fame of the US hip-hop, sort of US rapping industry, and also a member of the Black Eyed Peas. Yes, it can't be helped. will.i.am is going to get a mention this week. Now, obviously, will.i.am used to be a member of the Black Eyed Peas. We're probably going to talk about both tonight, just because these two, will.i.am was an iconic artist, but the Black Eyed Peas in general were a group that were formed in America. Obviously, Fergie was the lead singer of the Black Eyed Peas. will.i.am was, of course, one of the rappers. April Diapo Taboo. They are actually present at the moment. Funnily enough, the Black Eyed Peas as well. With them all in the group. But yes, alternative hip hop music actually began in 1988 and 1994, but they did transition into different hits as well. They've got different stage names as well in that regards. But it was in L Funk came Where Is the Love, which was the first major hit single to peak in number 8 on the US Hot 100. And that was the breakthrough, one of the first ever singles featuring Fergie, of course, on the lead vocals for Black Eyed Peas. Cemented their place in the US hip-hop fame. And I have to say, Zach, the Black Eyed Peas for me are just an example of how hip-hop music has revolutionized America over the years.
Absolutely, certainly as well. will.i.am's present as well. He's gone through several iterations with will.i.am as well. He started out in 1998. In 8th grade rapper when he met up with Alan Pindenia, better known as LPD App, as well, should I point out, in 1988. So that wasn't before the Black Eyed Peas became a thing. And then he sort of got signed on to Rufus Label Records in 1992. At the time, he was also known a nickname. A little fact, he was known at the time as Will 1X at the time in 1992. So he's obviously gone through several iterations as well. He released his first ever official track called, and I won't repeat it on there, Merry MF Christmas as well. I guess you could probably take a guess of what that really means, which is included on EDE's EP 515, Home for Sick. That's a bit of quite hip-hoppy language. They then started recording an album, Grassroots, with Mookie Mook and DJ Motive, but the album was never released due to Eazy-E's trade days 1995. And then then they started adding members as well. 1997, they then changed to the Black Eyed Peas and began recording their first album. They helped soul singer Kim Hill. They released their debut single in 1998. It was called Joints and Jams at the time. The album was successful enough for Group Contact renewed in 2000. A second album, Bridging the Gap, was released, and then from them, obviously, it went on from there and there as well. I mean, like in 2001, they released the most probably one of those famous one, the Ellie Funk as well. At the time, they released stuff as well. The Shut Up was one of them. That was not the Stormzy single. They released a female vocal. Nicole Scherzinger was originally approached, but decided not to. Then they introduced Fergie at the time as well, who also come to have a bit of success in the career industry as well, in the solo career industry. Ellie Funk reached number 14 in the Billboard 200 and his first album to reach top 15. Reached number 3 in UK album charts, 1.6 million copies worldwide. And then they released the famous single "Where Is the Love," which was a little bit of a message out there as well, because in fact there was a lot of drama going on at the time as well. They also released "Let's Get It Started," probably one of my favorite ones out of them as well. "Hey Mama" as well. Number 2002 was when it was Love released. Actually, it featured Justin Timberlake on vocals. Didn't feature in the video as well. And he started working on other albums such as Monkey Business as well. Interestingly enough, as well. And then he sort of started talking. He created solo songs as well. Songs about girls. Changes Now is another one. The End, the Beginning, and then he sort of then went on to make solo music as well. Willpower was the hashtag that I think got the hashtag trend going a little bit. Willpower was one of his albums that I remember well. That featured songs from like Britney Spears, Justin Bieber as well. Several well-known artists anyway as well. Cheryl as well. Very, familiar names in any way as well. And he performed at the Diamond Jubilee concert as well on the 4th of June 2012 as well. So he's a very luxurious career will.i.am's had. He's had that cool little look, the scientific, powerful videos and everything like that as well. He looks like a mastermind on screen and off. And yeah, he's now currently a voice he's currently a judge on The Voice as well, The Voice Kids. So he's one of the main judges, and he's still been doing that for many, many years, and still going strong on that.
There's loads of will.i.am's career with the Black Eyed Peas as well, releasing songs like obviously "Where Is the Love" being a big hit as well. The 5th studio album was called "The Energy Never Dies" or "The End," and that one was a big album back then. Featured additional singles such as "Meet Me Halfway," "I'm a Bee," and then we had the B side being "Rock That Body" as well. Now, the first single, "Boom Boom Power," was released in 2009, sold 465,000 downloads, which was the third number of downloads, the third highest in a single week back then as well. "I Got a Feeling" was also released as well. I think one of the most iconic songs for the Black Eyed Peas had to be the release of a song called "Just Can't Get Enough." I think that was recorded in 2011. Now, if you don't know when that song was filmed, it was actually filmed in Japan. And that song would be filmed just before a devastating earthquake would hit Japan and cause huge damage to much of the country. Tsunami hit, and there was multiple damage. The song was literally shot, I think, just a week or so before it hit. There was actually rumours back then whether the Formula One race was going to be held in Suzuka that day. But I mean, Zach, that song was an iconic song for the Black Eyed Peas because it was one of their last proper out songs with Fergie, really.
Yeah, and it was. And then they sort of went their separate ways onwards and do their own separate stuff. I mean, Fergie's gone on to do separate stuff, even when she was even with the Black Eyed Peas as well, to be fair. But yeah, as well, I mean, will.i.am went on to do separate stuff as well. He went on to do some songs like, but It's My Birthday. As well, that was quite an ironic one. If you ever want to play that on your birthday, and then you can slay that, and obviously that power of Justin Bieber as well, and the song with Britney Spears as well. So he's done it with several artists, the electronic as well. And I think and This Is Love with Eva Simmons as well. I think was the other one that he did.
Yeah,
Eva Lovers as well. So yeah, he's got a bit of a history, really, career as well. Even though even though he's pretty much, was successful in the Black Eyed Peas, he also has a successful solo career history as well. I mean, in many ways as well, and we've got to commemorate that for him.
Yeah, I have to say the Black Eyed Peas deserve recognition for what they do. It's a big artist, and just in general, I think they deserve all of the credit that any artist has, whether it's finesse, rapping, collaborating with artists. will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas deserve it. So I thought I'd do a joint little musical artist there this week. But I'm going to talk to you about one more piece of good news now. Has anyone recently been to somewhere like this? I'm going to talk now, guys, about something unique. Now, have you heard of the company before that might be familiar to the name of Lando Norris? Yes. Yes, it's the place where you can buy your favourite donuts. Yes. Krispy Kreme have announced, interestingly, that you can give away, that they are giving away 4 free donuts. Yes. This seems very interesting, guys. Now, according to this, was a couple of weeks ago this was released. Krispy Kreme is going to give customers the chance to win donuts for free. For the first time ever, in the final minute before its shops close, the chain will, and I quote this now for you, be treating customers to free and fresh last-minute box of 4 donuts to make room for the next batch of freshly made donuts. Krispy Kreme donuts are freshly made daily, and getting your hands on them easier to know. Now, how to claim Krispy Kreme donuts? For those wanting to get donuts, here's what you need to do. You must arrive at Krispy Kreme 1 minute before its closing time and say you've chosen phrase to a staff member. Customers must tell someone who works in the store that they are here to claim a last-minute box offer. They'll then be given a box of 4 donuts while stocks last. This offer is from March the 6th until March 12th. Obviously, it's not available anymore. But I have to say I'm reporting on this because this sounded very like a great initiative. It was quick to claim their free donuts. Krispy Kreme advises customers to check opening times to avoid disappointment. Now, I know this news story isn't unfortunately in date anymore, but I have to say the offer is what really made me want to talk about this. 4 free donuts each.
4 free donuts.
I mean, it sounds like Homer Simpson's certainly going to be wanting a lot of them, I think, from what I'm hearing. Maybe Krusty the Krab's donut shop needs extra set of donuts or something. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, it's weird because I actually have an interview myself on Monday with them in Lakeside, which sounds very interesting. Myself, I do actually have an interview there on Monday because I am still looking for work. Even though I do have a little part-time job, I'm trying to look for work myself. But I mean, Zach, this sounds very interesting. I'm sure Lando Norris will be looking at this very closely in the Formula One paddock in Jeddah at the moment, thinking to himself, 4 free donuts when he was at Blue Water once.
Yeah, I'd love 4 free donuts myself. I mean, to be fair, I haven't had much of a donut in ages, I don't think. The last time I had a donut was actually at work, and it was quite a while ago, to be fair. I think it was just, I think it was my work colleagues that brought a donut in, and they thought, if anyone wants to spare one, just take it. And I was like, yeah, I'll go and take it. And I had a really nice chocolatey donut. So for me, it was like a free donut at work. But yeah, 4 free donuts would actually be even better compared to the one. But yeah, I honestly, free donuts, get that in me. I'll tell you that for certain. Get that in me.
It's amazing because I was seeing in the paddock once in, I think, Bahrain, Lando actually delivering some. It's really weird, guys, because if you don't know, Lando Norris is actually, like, he honestly, like, he's been involved a lot with Krispy Kreme, and I don't know if it's, like, become some sort of ambassador for them, like, for some reason, he just loves it. Like, he does this thing, like, I'll see you on Twitter. This was all, like, literally put on his social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, I don't know what it was, but here we go, guys. Literally, this is Lando Norris, okay? He's got this, like, collaboration with them or something. Like, literally, on their social media pages, Team for Lando, literally, Lando Norris there, walking in a Formula One paddock, delivering donuts. Like, I don't know if it's, like, 3 donuts to his Formula One his personnel at McLaren,
Incredible.
or 3 Formula One donuts to drive. I mean, This is like Lando at work here. I mean, this looks amazing.
It's incredible. Absolutely. Honestly, I salute the guy because honestly, the amount of donuts. Oh, I could just fit that in me. It's just so amazing. It's just. Oh. I'm so tempted to actually have one. I haven't had one for a while, and I'm just so tempted to have one. It's just so tasty. Oh, lovely.
I'm sure. As I said, I'm sure Lando will be on the book cover tonight of that brand. I know he really loves that brand, so I'm sure everyone will give Lando he's due a credit. I'm sure he's having some right now in Jeddah ahead of this weekend's Formula One race. I'm sure as well. And moving on now to press preview, where we look at all the latest newspaper headlines. Wow, what do we have on our papers this week? I wonder. Okay, the Sunday Times goes with a news story of business news. Yes, all different headlines this week, thankfully, not all Gary Lineker themed, but the John Lewis eyes up the biggest shake-up in 150 years. Blimey. Struggling high street institution could end 100% of staff ownership raised to £2 billion. Wow, interesting. The Sunday People goes, prisons are full, so criminals are avoiding jail sentences, according to the Sunday People. I mean, that is absolutely pathetic for a start. Everyone needs to be put in prison for committing serious crimes, I have to say. The Mirror goes for... Oh my God, really? Britain should be proud of Lineker. That comes as Suella Braverman visits a Rwanda migrant centre. Okay, why would you put a really interesting front page? And it comes as Taylor Swift has an amazing 3-hour comeback with 11 costume changes at her latest concert. The Sunday Telegraph goes with migrants' flights to Rwanda by the summer. Can we finally get migrants taken off to Rwanda? The Mail goes, Suella, I'll send boats to migrants' boats to Rwanda. Sunday Express also goes with the same headline as well. So following the Mail's headline there, Mail on Sunday. Sunday Mail, the Mail, Daily Mail. This is the Sunday Mail going for, okay, right, now I know this one. Sex, Lies and Spin. That comes after Nicholas Sturgeon's husband quits as quits as the SNP chief executive. So the SNP are in crisis at the moment, from what I hear. And the Daily Star Sunday goes with this headline: Razor exclusive, losing seven. Really weird one. Losing 7 stone turned me into a stud muffin. That's according to former footballer Neil Razor Ruddock. 7 stone is that weight there as well. And also the Dalek with the Beeb Lineker robot as well in that headline.
Wow.
Zach, what do you make to the latest newspaper headlines?
Interesting. Yeah, I have to say it's a pretty hilarious set of headlines. It's top. They talk about John Lewis actually. Now, John Lewis is a store that I've sort of visited because I've been to their Waitrose stores as well. Interestingly enough, in many ways. Now their business model is interesting because they're 100% owned by staff. So basically, the staff that run the store area are owned by them. There's no like private business involvement. It's just by them. Their voices, what they say. It's their model, their staff. Now with the financial situation going on, and obviously businesses changing and adapting as well, it looks like that model of 100% staff is about to change. It looks like there may be some private equity or business that wants to get on board and change the model as well. They want to raise up to £2 billion as well to basically have a private investment or be another company on board to as well to end its 100% staff ownership model. It's been like that for its 150 years since it's been in business as well. Years of staff owned John Lewis as well. In many ways, it's 100% owned by its staff, more than 70 years. Is considering its partnership structure amid the crisis on the high street as well. The company, which is almost owns Waitrose, are put into a trust as well by the founders, John Lewis, who declared that it was all wrong to have millionaires before you cease to have staff as well. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, that one. I mean, I just hope in many ways that, you know, it doesn't ruin John Lewis as a business, it improves it as a model. But, you know, the fact he's running staff is a commitment to all of it that's run the model as well, had their voices heard and had their opinions heard in the boardroom in many ways as well. It's really interesting as well. So yeah, I just hope it's a good enough business. If they are looking for half a sale, then it'll be interesting to see if they can find as well on that one. The Sunday People goes in this just call this justice. They're saying that prisons are so full that criminals are avoiding jail sentences. Wow. I mean, the crisis in the jail system really is phenomenal if they cannot even get through the backlogs in the court, and they can't even get through the courts because they can't even find the space for them. So the fact that criminals have been let off free because there's no room for prisons is, wow. I mean, that is utterly dreadful if that is the case. I mean, no room for prison, so you're let free. Oh, I am unbelievable. That means no wonder why there's so many criminals on the street, let alone if that's the case as well, that they're letting criminals out because there's no room for them in prison. A little bit of a different one. The Sunday Mirror continues on the Gary Lineker theme. Gary Lineker has been back presenting Match of the Day, by the way, today. He's presented the Manchester City Burnley match live, the FA Cup match. Today, Alan Shearer and Michael Richards also returned to the screens as well, alongside the pundits as well. The Sunday Mirror spoke. The Sunday Mirror today spoke with a refugee who lived with Gary Lineker as well, and he said that prisoners should be proud of Gary Lineker. Said the refugee that took the star in as well. That's the refugee, by the way. Rashid Baluch lives with the Match of the Day week for weeks. He spoke as the Home Secretary was on at Rwanda, trumpeting her deportation and partnership plan with Rwanda as well. I should point out as well, and that goes on the front page, by the way, of the Telegraph. Migrant flights to Rwanda by the summer. This also goes for the Mail and the Express as well. They're the front page as well on that one. Now, obviously, Rwanda is a big theme as well in these papers, because Suella Braverman has actually been out to Rwanda to tout the partnership, even though there's been actually no migrants that have been sent there since this scheme was first introduced. Now, she wants all these the first asylum flights to Rwanda this summer, in the hope that the courts will strike the appeal down as well. And if it does, that means there will be flights that will be going off to Rwanda certainly this summer as well. The courts have struck it. The European Court of Human Rights put an interim in place as well for the people that were supposed to go out to Rwanda in the first place as well. The interims were put onto them, all the people that were due to go out on that flight as well. That never happened, even though the High Court agreed with it in the first place. Now, there will be obviously some sort of legal battle for this over the summer. And if the government wins, then they'll get some deportations going, certainly as well. But if not, then who knows what will happen in the courts if the courts say no, this is illegal. We don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the lawyers come up with that one as well. But at least the Sunday Express, the Sunday Telegraph, and the Mail as well, I should point out as well, they all leave the front pages as well. Anyways, the Sunday the Mail, this is obviously the Scottish one, I should point out as well, or some, maybe not be Scottish, but something like that. Sex, Lies and Spin. Now, this is Peter Morrell, who's the SNP CEO, and was, by the way, the Nicola Sturgeon's the husband to Nicola Sturgeon. He resigned as the CEO of the SNP today. This is because of recent terrible and quite frankly disastrous communication events stuff by the SNP. I mean, the SNP recently inside their leadership. They refused to answer questions about the leadership numbers, how many members there were, and when they did get that, then they were attacked. They called the media the enemies as well. In many ways, sound very Trumpian, and the whole communication fiasco has led to candidates calling for the resignation of the CEO of the SNP as well. Peter Moran did also potentially face no confidence vote if he didn't resign today. So he was forced out rather well, unfortunately on that occasion for him, as well. But yeah, so that's Nicola Sturgeon staying in front at the top of the SNP, gone for now, with her resignation and her husband's resignation, as well on that way. And the Daily Star goes for losing 7 stone turned me into a stud muffin. According to the Daily Star, football formula Reed Razor lost 7 stone through gastric surgery. Okay. I struggle to see how that benefits me as a reader as well. I had left him with a harder tackle than ever. He's been on that too much football, I think. As well, he's been able to ex-Liverpool star claims that he today had tripled inside and enjoyed extra time in bed with wife Leah. So was the wife too big for the bed then? I do wonder. Especially when they have time alone together. I imagine their performance too big for one another. Yeah, but that's all. Sunday. Yeah, that's all the papers for tomorrow as well. Yeah. And obviously there may well be more that comes in during the night.
Yeah, plenty of newspapers, as you retail as well. That is all the newspaper. And now we're going to go over and do our heroes and villains now. And my heroes this week, it is actually a charity nomination this week. It goes to Comic Relief. Yes, I want to go over that to do as well. I'm going to give a nomination for Comic Relief this week because I know a lot of people have been doing Comic Relief. I just want to say Comic Relief is going to get a nomination. In particular, to the generous British public that have come out there and support, because Comic Relief is going to be getting a nomination this week for comic relief projects in Africa to receive £2.7 million of government support. Get my nomination this week. For one reason, yes. The Scottish Government, the Comic Relief, will get a nomination here. The Scottish Government funding for Comic Relief sports projects will address social issues affecting women, girls in Africa. The final £200 for Scottish Government involvement will bring contribution for the charity's Levelling Field programme to end. The partnership launched in 2017 will phase the first phase, seeing Scottish Government contribute to £1.2 million, and second phase from 2020 to 2023 reaching £1.5 million. I want to say to Comic Relief, everyone who took part yesterday in the telethon gets a nomination. The generous British public as well, raising money, and we can tell you the exact was raised a lot the other night, guys. Comic Relief raised over £34 million, which was a huge figure there. That was on the BBC telethon show. So they featured sketches, including one, I think, from Prince William, from what I read up as well. I think it was a sketch he done. David Williams also, I think, appeared in one as well. Thank you to everyone who did present Comic Relief the other night on the BBC. Thank you so much for that. As well, raising money. Red Nose Day, of course, being a big day there as well. Did anyone take part in that? Yeah, I hope everyone did. Here are my villains this week. Number one is going to be Vladimir Putin for giving that arrest warrant. I have to say, if you're the Russian president right now, I hope you very soon be locked up behind bars in jail. I think for that, clearly there's an issue with the president of Russia not allowing free speech in his country to dwindle behind. Now, the second nomination is a controversial nomination now. The second nomination is going to go to President of the United States, Joe Biden, for apparently, now this is an important one, guys, because the United States mainstream media finally caught him out when he failed to answer a question about his son Hunter. Now, if you don't know who Hunter Biden is, he has apparently been accused of committing so many problems lately, crimes and stuff like that, as well. It has been a problem that the United States president has been very much avoiding lately on as well. We know that Hunter Biden has been literally accused of like laptop scandals and stuff as well. And he is at the center of a controversy which on Fox News said that Hunter Biden is using a crack addict defense in response to a lost laptop. That was according to one of its journalists, Miranda Devine, on Fox Business the other night. have a listen to this very, very quickly. Just going to play for you a little bit of this report, which suggested exactly what Hunter might have been using.
Miranda, I heard you earlier. House Republicans have only had subpoena power for 2 months, and we already know 4 immediate members of the Biden family have received money. Hunter, Jim, Haley, and 1 unnamed Biden. It's astonishing. Who's the 4th unnamed Biden is the question so far.
Hi, Dagan. Look, I think everyone wants that 4th person to be Joe Biden, but I don't know, but I would very much doubt that it is, because Joe Biden has been doing this sort of influence peddling scheme for 4 decades out of Delaware. He's very practiced at it. As his brother Jim Biden told Tony Bobulinski, it's all about plausible deniability. So I doubt that there's any direct payment to Joe Biden that is going to be uncovered so easily. But it will be obviously some other family member whose surname is Biden. It's really extraordinary that the bank accepted this wire with just 1 name. And the other thing we know from James Comer and his sleuthing on behalf of the Oversight Committee is that these transactions were very unusual for.
Yeah, that was the news there, guys. So I have to say, when I saw it, the reporter asked him a question and he just completely did not look like he ever wanted to answer it. So Joe Biden here getting the 2nd nomination for the villain of the week there as well. My final villain of the week, again, another critical one. It is going to go to, quite simply, I'm going to basically the 3rd nomination is to a Conservative MP. Yes, it's going to be Rishi Sunak this week, who is going to get a nomination for, just in general, Jeremy Hunt, Rishi Sunak, for that pretty poor budget, if I'm honest with you. Not really inspiring. Zach, what do you make to my nominations there for the heroes and villains of the week?
Here we go. Quite interesting choices, I must say, as well. Probably the typical that I expect from you, some of them as well, but I do agree with the putting one. Let me do what my hero and villain this week actually as well. Let me get to my one. I'm going to, first of all, my hero this week is, by the way, the delegates at the annual Our Ocean Conference in Panama, which took place a couple of weeks ago, but we found out what they really have been doing and raising as well. They've made 341 commitments worth nearly $20 billion, including funding for expanding and improving marine protected areas and biodiversity corridors. So this is basically a conference to basically protect our oceans in many ways as well. This obviously these have done. They've previously done 1,800 commitments worth approximately $108 billion as well. They've also announced that the president of the conference, one of the Latin countries as well, it was adding 36,058 square miles to existing Blanco Vulcan marine protected area in the Caribbean Sea, an area characterized by deep sea mountain ranges and high biodiversity as well. So protecting that land was obviously really important. Another one commitment came from charitable organizations Bloomberg, Philanthropies, and Arcadia, which established a fund worth $51 million to help support indigenous people in local communities as well. Obviously, that's the aim to help keep nature protect 30% of the oceans by 2030. So, delegates at the annual Ocean Conference win the Hero of the Week for me as well. And the villains this week goes to banking executives, aka banking executives at Silicon Valley Bank. Now, you may have heard a big deal about this one. Silicon Valley Bank is obviously a big banking lending company in America. That their share price has collapsed and the whole company's collapsed. It's proven that there's been quite negligible action going on there as well. Now, thankfully, there has been bailouts in the US. Not that can cost nothing to the taxpayer, and there was obviously benefit to the creditors and lenders as well. Same here in the UK as well. No public taxpayers are spent on the bailout. HSBC bought the company as well, but it just shows you how bad banking executives run these companies as well, and the fact that Silicon Valley the way it was run was quite despicable, really. So, Silicon Valley banking executive gets the villain for the week, and the delegates to the annual Ocean Conference get my heroes of the week.
That's all from the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight. We will be back again next weekend for another episode where we'll be going towards the end of March. Would you believe it? Plenty of news as we come in for you right now. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Take care and have a great night. That's the Charlie Tolhurst show live on YouTube. My presenter Charlie and my colleague Zach. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and good night.